Make sure you click that subscribe button below and click the notification bell. That way you'll know exactly when the next episode will drop. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Season 20, where we are focusing on talking to people who have very close connections to SBDCs, and we will explain what that means, as well as small business advisors. And joining me today is the one and only, baby, Nicole McCullum. She is a digital marketing consultant. She also speaks and trains quite a bit on SEO, specifically for small businesses. And Nicole is the founder of Captivate Designs. Nicole, welcome. It's so great to see your face right now.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for having me. It's great to be with you and to be here as well.
Okay, let's get right into it. So I just want to share with everyone how we first met. There was an America's SBDC conference, and I know that's a mouthful, especially for those who may not even be familiar with what an SBDC is. So let me just quickly explain what it is. It stands for Small Business Development Centers. There's over 1,000 of them across the United States, and they provide resources, most of which are free. I think all of them, actually. All of their resources are free, the training and counseling that they provide to small businesses. And every year they convene for an annual conference called the America's SBDC Conference. And it happened to be in San Diego, California, last September 2022. And that is where I met Nicole. And I must say, Nicole, kudos to you, because Nicole spoke on the last day of the conference, I believe, right?
Yes.
And that is difficult because most people have already left. People are eager to leave if they haven't left already. But I must say, when I sat in that room, every single person was on the edge of his or her seat, listening to everything you had to say. I mean, she is just that good, everyone. So before we get into, you're welcome.
And I have to say, not only that, is I was nervous speaking at so early in the morning, because I figured, who is going to get up at that time? And the turnout was amazing. So
it was.
That's the commitment of the SBDC advisors, such as yourself. Really want to help small businesses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I forgot about that piece, that the fact that it was so early in the morning. So before we get into a little bit more about you and your background and exactly what you do from an SEO perspective, can you first share with us, what exactly do you do with the SBDC?
So I actually just happen to be a speaker for them at the conference. I don't work directly with SBDCs or as an advisor. I just happen to be a speaker at the conference.
Oh, wow. Was that your first time speaking at that conference?
It was my first time speaking in person. I have done the conference virtually as a result of COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Well, kudos again. It was a job well done. And
thank you.
So Nicole, we've introduced you as this SEO expert, but I know you haven't always done search engine optimization, which, for those who are listening and watching for the first time, and you may not be familiar with what SEO is, I know Nicole will definitely give us a great definition, but it does stand for search engine optimization. But you have quite the interesting story, because if I recall correctly from listening to your presentation, your journey with becoming an SEO expert started in real estate, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain how that came together?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first business was a real estate school. So we did salespersons, broker, and continuing education training for people who wanted to start a career in real estate. And I paid $5,000 for a website that didn't really do anything for me, and I had to figure out how to make it work. And that's when I started with Google Ads and search marketing as a channel. And I started to get results, to get people to fill my classrooms after a lot of trial and error with a lot of different types of advertising. So I did bus, TV, movie theater, you name it, right? Because I was a newbie. I was 24. I thought, put an ad, you're going to get your classroom full. And that was a wake-up call, because it did not happen that way. And this was back in 2004, and I wasn't even aware of resources such as SBDC, for example. So I was basically trial and error. and stumbled upon Google Ads and started using ads, doing it myself to get people into my classrooms, and got it to work. And I realized, you know what, if I was having this problem where I build a website and think, okay, build it, and they would come and build it, and they didn't, other small businesses were in the same predicament as I was. And I set out to, really bring this awareness to small businesses. Is one of the reasons why I speak at conferences and I do a lot of training in addition to offering SEO as a service. But that is really how it all started. And so when I started as a web design company to help people with their website. And I actually started doing SEO myself for my business, and people who were finding me, doing SEO, true SEO, started asking me to do it for them. And so that's how I really got into SEO.
So at what point did you stop the real estate course or training that you were providing and go into Captivate Designs full time?
So I stopped. I was doing it for a couple of years, and then because of course I was bankrolling it myself, I went back out to work for like a year or so, and then I started Captivate while at my job on my Palm Pilot. I had a Palm Pilot. I don't know if everybody remember.
Oh yes,
that.
I remember that.
I distinctly remember, creating proposals and emailing it to myself, and then sending it to, a prospect directly from my Palm Pilot, because I didn't want to send it from my job at the time. I didn't want to send it from my job email. So basically I was doing that part-time. At the time I was doing it as a side hustle, but that terminology didn't even exist back then. This was in 2006. I wasn't quite ready to leave my job, but I, didn't see eye to eye with my supervisor at the time, and decided to leave. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
So
15 years later, 15 years later,
15 years.
That's how long I've been doing this.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So obviously you have gained so much knowledge, and I'm sure you've seen so many things change as it relates to what are these search engines looking for. So before we get into some of those details, Nicole, can you first explain what exactly is SEO?
So SEO, as you said, stands for search engine optimization. And my definition is it's the process of performing key tactics on and off your website so that you can get found by the people that are searching for the keywords that are related to your business. And there are things that you need to do on your website, and then there are things that you need to do off your website in order for you to show up and get found in the search engines.
And I know you mentioned that when it comes to doing those tactics, those things that you mentioned about search engine optimization, it's not like you do something and then you expect to see instant results 1 week later, right? You have to give it time. About how much time would you say on average to start really seeing results?
Generally, it takes about 3 to 6 months for you to start to see results. However, it can take longer if you're in a super competitive industry or niche, right? But generally, it takes 3 to 6 months for most small businesses to start seeing results.
And what exactly does it entail? So is it just a matter of kind of scrubbing your website and making sure you put in the words that people are likely to search for? Is that a starting point that you would usually give? But I know you also do an audit first, right, of a website.
So, yes. So usually when we take on a client, we usually start with a creative brief, right? To understand, the client, their needs, their audience, what products or services they're selling, what they want to prioritize, because, everything that we do is driven by strategy. So it's very easy for small businesses to say, I want to rank on Google, but maybe, there is more than one product or service that you're selling, and maybe one is more profitable than the other. And so maybe you want to start prioritizing that because you might have a limited budget or resources, right? So there are 4 key pillars of SEO. I like to think of keyword research, which is the first pillar, as the foundation of SEO. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see small businesses make, is not choosing the right keywords to target in the first place. And so going through that process of identifying what your target audience is searching for on search engines like Google, and whether that keyword is relevant to, what you offer, and also looking at the competition for that keyword, right? How long is it going to take you to rank for that keyword, and also the type of keyword, because we look at the intent behind the keyword. Is it a keyword that's informational intent, or is the keyword that is transactional intent, right? And so that is an entire process that we go through before we even start optimizing your website. And then the second pillar would be on-page optimization. And that is really the process of demonstrating to search engines that your website is relevant to the specific search queries or keywords that you want to get found for on search engines. And then the third pillar is off-page optimization. And that is the process of building authority, right? Demonstrating to search engines that you can trust this website. This is an authoritative website. It's an authoritative website because others are citing this website, others are linking back to it because of the quality of the content on the website. And then the fourth pillar that is often overlooked, again, by small businesses, is the technical foundation of the website. Because if your website doesn't provide a good user experience, then that is also going to affect your SEO and your chances of ranking high in the search engine results. So everything from, whether search engines are able to crawl and index your website, because maybe your server is taking too long to load and it times out, and search engines are not able to crawl your site and add it to their index, or whether or not your site is mobile friendly. So there's a number of things that we look at from a technical SEO standpoint as well. So it's never just one thing, and it's never, I do SEO today and that is it. It's done. SEO is a continuous process of continuously improving your website to not only create content that's going to be attractive to users and search engines, but also that's going to provide a good user experience as well.
Now, there was something you mentioned about the pages loading, or
yes, the page speed. Yeah,
the page speed. And one thing, well, I have three things here that stood out to me when I listened to your presentation some months ago at that conference. The first thing is the average time that your website should ideally load is 2.5 seconds or less.
Yes.
The other is less than 10% of visitors will purchase initially. So if you're selling something on your site, don't expect for first-time visitors, in other words, to purchase right away.
Right. Not just selling, but even for someone to submit a lead if you provide a service.
Okay.
Right? And the reason for that is because as consumers, there's a process we go through. That process is referred to as the buying journey, right? And the buying journey, you might have heard the terms top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, right?
Yes.
And starts with awareness, and then moving to consideration or evaluation, and then purchase, and then ultimately to post-purchase. So think about it, Alicia. I know you travel quite a bit. And when you're booking a trip and you're maybe looking for a hotel, do you just look at one hotel, or do you look at several before you ultimately make a decision, right? And so you're not going to, book that trip on the very first time you visit the website. You will do it after you've evaluated the options that are out there. And then ultimately, if once you come to a decision, then you would go back to one of those several websites that you look at and make a decision. And so your target customers are going through that exact process most of the time. And so you need to think about that. You need to think about ways that you're going to continuously engage your website visitors, because it's one thing to create that awareness, but how do you continue to stay in front of them after you create that awareness to nurture that relationship and move them from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel?
And speaking of people or visitors doing their research, their homework, that was the last thing that stood out. Well, there were several things, but again, one of the other things that I made it a point to take note of, and that is that visitors on average are looking at approximately 7 other sites to compare, contrast your products and services against.
Absolutely. Yes. So a lot of times I talk to small businesses and a lot of times they say, well, I don't really have competition. Well, you do have competition, whether that is direct competition or indirect competition, right? So direct competition is I sell SEO services, someone else who sells SEO services is going to be a competitor to me, right? But a small business have a finite budget, right? And so they have to decide whether they're going to do SEO or whether they're going to invest in social media. So even though someone else doesn't do SEO, that person that does social media or that person that does PR or that person that does, podcast sponsor, they're competing for the same dollars, right? So
Mm.
you always have competition, regardless of if that person offers the exact same thing as you or not, because you're competing for the same dollars.
Got it. Got it. Well, I still have my notes, Nicole, from your presentation,
That is amazing.
several pages, and I'm going to actually read from this because I was wondering if you wouldn't mind going into a little bit of detail about these 5 factors that Google looks for when is the correct term indexing a website?
And it's in terms of ranking the website,
Ranking the
the web
website.
page.
Okay, the
Yes.
web page. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing is meaning.
Yes. So meaning is when someone conducts a search, is the search relevant, right, to the specific web page? Because search engines don't rank websites, search engine rank individual web pages. So does the word
Mm.
appear anywhere on the page that you're trying to rank for that specific keyword?
Got it. Okay. I did not realize that. So it's the web page, not the website overall.
Exactly. Because think about it.
Okay.
If you offer different services, let's say you offer consulting and then another service might be coaching, for example, right? If someone's searching for a business consultant, the search engine wants to rank your business consulting page and not your business coaching page, right?
Okay.
And so that's really important.
Okay. The second factor is relevance.
Right. So that ties meaning and relevance goes together because relevance is okay, does the page that you're trying to rank is it relevant to that keyword that was typed into the search engine as a query? And hopefully that keyword is relevant to your business as well.
Okay. Factor number 3, quality.
Yes. So the search engines are also looking at the quality of your website content and the quality of the user experience on your site.
How do they actually measure that? So when I'm thinking quality, one of the first things that I think of is, are there punctuation mistakes, grammatical errors? But clearly, I don't think that's what Google is
Well,
really
they
Oh,
are
are
looking at
they?
that.
Okay.
Yes, they are looking at whether there's grammatical errors on your content, but it's also looking at whether the content is what is called thin content, right? Basically shallow content that doesn't really go into a topic in an in-depth way, right? So looking at the overall quality of the content, the quality in terms of grammatically, but also in terms of depth of the content as well.
Okay. Okay. To make sure that you're not just kind of, I guess, cheating to
Hey,
be found.
well, not only that, is that the search engine wants to rank a piece of content that will leave the searcher feeling fulfilled, right?
Mm.
And so if you Googled, how to do SEO and it was just, some basic things that really didn't give you what you were seeking for, that wouldn't really make you happy and that would not have been a good experience. And so you would need to go and search again and find another website to fulfill that need that you have. And so that's not what the search engines want. They want when someone clicks on a page that they're going to feel fulfilled in that result that they got.
And this might be getting way too much in the weeds. So please tell me if I am getting too much into the weeds here. But I am curious when they are determining that quality again, is it based on the amount of time that a person might be spending looking
So
at?
many in the SEO community believe that engagement is one of the things that they look at, like how
Okay.
much time was spent on the site, whether or not someone clicks on that search result and then immediately bounce and leaves the site.
Okay. So that algorithm, it sounds like it's heavily guarded as to the, and I'm sure it's
Well,
very
Google doesn't
complicated.
really,
Right.
tell us what the algorithm is, but just from, the search results and behavior. Also think about it. Google owns Chrome, right? So they get a lot of data, just from people who are using Chrome browsers as well.
Okay.
And
Okay.
another thing is that many of us use Google Analytics, which is another Google product as well. That the whole point of that is to provide data, right, on website behavior, and so
Mhm.
that's another way.
Okay. All right. Going back to our 5 factors. So we talked about meaning, relevance, and quality. Next,
Mm-hmm.
number 4 is usability.
Right. So that goes specifically to the user experience. Everything from the font size, is the font too small? How long are your paragraphs? Is your paragraphs too difficult to read, for example? What is the readability level? So typically you want to have your text lines to not be more than 75 characters from a user experience standpoint per line on your website, because then it makes it more difficult
Oh,
to
wow.
read, right? Typically you want to keep your paragraphs to 4 to 5 sentences per paragraph, for example. So it looks at, again, the mobile friendliness, the page speed, and also core web vitals, which is a set of metrics that Google uses to overall. It's actually 3 metrics that measures the loading, interactive interactivity and stability of your web page, and how long it takes for those things to occur. And that is built into Google Page Experience Score, that Google looks at, that is part of the algorithm to determine what is the overall experience of a web page. And by the way, you can look at your page experience and your core web vitals in Google Search Console, which is a free tool that Google provides, that allows you to monitor your core web vitals and the page experience, and see what Google is seeing, and what errors they might be encountering, so that you can improve your SEO.
Interesting. Okay, the 5th factor is context and settings.
So context and settings is basically, if someone is searching for football in the US, and someone search for football in Europe, there's 2 different types. Those are 2 different types of searches, right? So of course, someone searching football in America, they're looking at American football. If they search for football in London, they're thinking about soccer. But also your settings, where are you based locally? So if someone searched for football in New York, they might more likely see the Giants or the Jets, right? Whereas if someone searched for football in Las Vegas, they might get the Rams. I hope I'm not messing that up. So yeah, so those are the contexts. And so going back again, one thing I want to touch on, going back to quality. One of the things that Google looks at in terms of the quality of your content is also expertise, authority, and trust. And expertise has to do with how much knowledge the person that's creating a piece of content, how much knowledge they have. And so Google actually wants you to hone in on a topic and demonstrate real expertise on that topic. And authority, again, that goes back to whether other people are citing you, for example, right? And then trust is, can we trust this website? Do you have, like an about us page on your site? Do you have your privacy policy on your site? Do you have your terms of conditions on your site, for example? Is your site secure? So all of these things, Google is looking at.
Okay, so and it's in terms of security, is that what the SSL
Yes.
certificate is about? Okay, so
Yes.
that matters. Also, as you mentioned earlier, having a responsive design.
Right. So that is part of usability, right?
Okay.
Is your site mobile friendly, for
Okay.
example?
Okay. And for those who might be listening or watching again and you aren't familiar with what responsive design means, it literally means, and please correct me, Nicole, if I don't say this correctly, but literally, can people within reason have the same user experience, whether they're looking at your website from their phone, tablet, or maybe even a computer, laptop?
Not exactly. So
Okay, didn't get that right.
responsive is whether or not the website is going to adapt to the different screen size that is being viewed on.
Okay. Oh,
So the reason why, and I don't want to like get all corrective on this, but the reason why is because with a responsive website, the website stays the same whether you're browsing on desktop or mobile. However, the experience might be different from desktop to mobile, because if you have a very long content on a desktop, then on mobile, the experience is going to be a little bit not the best because your content is not specifically tailored for mobile, right?
Mm.
And so that's why I am objecting to that experience part of it.
Oh,
Because,
okay. Got it.
responsive sites, usually it's what Google recommends, but the experience might not be the same on both desktop and mobile because it's not designed specifically for mobile.
And I guess that's where Google Analytics would come into play, because it would be able to show you where most people are viewing your website, correct? It would be able to let you know if it's a mobile device versus a desktop.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Okay. There are some tools also that you shared just in this conversation, but also at the presentation. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just kind of, as I share those resources that I grabbed from my handy notes here from when I attended your presentation, if you just wouldn't mind again, just kind of briefly explaining those resources, and then please feeling free to add any additional resources that you might recommend for anyone who's listening, watching, who's like, I want to know more about search engine optimization, and I definitely want to get in touch with Nicole. The first resource is iSpionage.
iEspionage. Yeah, it is a keyword research tool.
Okay.
Yes, and it helps you to do competitive keyword research. One of the favorite tools that I use is SEMrush. So it's also a paid tool, but it's a little bit more expensive than iEspionage.
Okay. And then you've already talked about Google Search Console, but then there was BuzzSumo.
BuzzSumo, yes. BuzzSumo can help you with research as well, help you come up with content ideas as well.
Okay. And you also mentioned Google Analytics, SEMrush. Are there any other tools or resources that you would like to recommend?
There are so many. So so let's talk about the 4 pillars, right? So generally keyword research, you're going to be using tools like SEMrush, you're going to use Google Keyword Planner, you're going to use iEspionage, there's others like Ahref, for example. Then on-page optimization. So most websites have a built-in SEO plugin section. If your site is in WordPress, you're probably using something like SEO by Yoast. But then you would also need to make sure you're submitting a sitemap to Google. If your site does not have a built-in sitemap, you might create one on xml-sitemaps.com, for example. Then from an SEO standpoint, you might want to do on-page optimization and create structured data, which is a way for you to mark up your content and make your website content more understandable to search engines. So you can use something like the Google structured data markup helper. You can also go to schema.org and you can learn more about that. And then for off-page optimization, you're building links. So you might use a platform like ex.com, for example, to submit if you're a small local business. To submit your site to local business directories and things like that. You can also use, like Ahref or SEMrush to do competitive backlink analysis. And then from technical SEO, so you might use Google PageSpeed Insights tool to do to check your website page speed and your website core vitals. You might use their mobile-friendly testing tool to see if your site is mobile-friendly. There's so many tools that you can use. We could probably be here all day.
I know, and this is why we need you, Nicole. This is why this is exactly why we need you, because I'm my page is just literally peppered with notes right now, trying to keep up with you. So speaking of which, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? Because this is a lot. And as you mentioned earlier, it is not static. It's not a one and done kind of thing. It is constantly changing and evolving. It's a very dynamic situation. And we have to focus on our actual businesses. So it just makes sense to hire your firm. So what is the best way that people can get in touch with you?
So people can get in touch with me on my website, captivatedesigns.com. You can feel free to request more information by filling out a contact form on there. You can also call me 877-877-4936. I always like to get on the phone. I'm still a little bit old-fashioned, so we actually get on the phone
I
and speak to
see.
people as well.
Wow.
And so, yeah, you can feel free to reach out to me either via my website or give us a call, and be happy to either, discuss your SEO needs with you or point you in the right direction.
And do you work with people all over the world, or
Oh,
is it
absolutely.
okay? I figured
Yeah.
you did. Okay. No, that's
I've worked with
great.
people in, in Ireland and Marrakesh and Prague, you name it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Okay, that's also great to know. Okay, so captivatedesigns.com. As we start to wrap up here, Nicole, this has been amazing, by the way. Do you have any parting words of advice? Because again, I can just imagine not just startups, but also seasoned entrepreneurs listening to you thinking, oh my gosh, this is like drinking water from a fire hose. There's so much, there's so many things to consider, things that we frankly just don't have an appreciation for. Any parting words of advice or encouragement, in terms of getting started with search engine optimization, or maybe taking their search engine optimization to another level?
Right. Well, one thing is, if it's something you want to tackle for yourself, you can also, once you go to my website, I actually have an online SEO course that you can sign up for to learn more about SEO. I do want to tell people that SEO, again, it's a long-term strategy. So it's not something that you're going to start seeing quick results from, but once you start ranking, the results are going to start paying off for you. I would say pace yourself. Do a little every day. They said the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And that's what you need to do with SEO. So it's kind of like trying to lose weight, right? You don't just, do it for 1 week and expect everything to happen. You have to put in the work. And that is true with SEO as well.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much. We're going to make sure that we have a robust listing of all of the resources that you provided, with links to everything, not only in the description box below on this YouTube video, but also in the show notes for the podcast version of this as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you can possibly know, because I know how busy you are. And everyone, Nicole is a big deal. She's being very modest and humble right now, but trust me, she is a big deal. She's been interviewed on many popular magazines, and I'm just so grateful to be able to spend time and share space with you today.
Oh, the feeling is absolutely mutual. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Be sure to click the link in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell so that you'll know when our next episode drops. Until then, keep operating smoothly.